listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, as always, there's literally no human being I'd rather be talking to right now than Charlie Morton, because I really enjoy our conversations. When we talked in spring training, we talked about sort of the evolution of baseball, where it was going, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's sort of where I want to start. I'm curious from your perspective, what you've seen is different in this, because we guess, right? In spring training, we sort of guess how things are going to evolve. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed anything, whether it's hitters' approaches, whether it's pitchers' approaches? Like, what is the thing that jumps out to you this year, 2025?
I don't know.
Or is it different?
As a spectator, I don't really know if anything stood out that's a ton different. It seems to me this year for me, from a pitching perspective, it's hard to tell, because I think getting off the ground, getting going, getting some of my better pitches going was tough. Getting my curveball going, even my delivery was tough. Repeating, just throwing strikes, just being competitive. That was hard. So it's hard for me to really, just from my perspective on the mound.
Because you're worrying about yourself.
Not necessarily that, but I think it's more being, at least feeling like I was pretty far away from just being myself. Because it's like I don't know, for the past 7 or 8 years, I think I've demonstrated the ability to pitch pretty well. Like, whether or not, that's being a guy that's striking out 200 guys a year, or a guy that's just posting, making starts, and keeping the team in the game. I think this year was just such an outlier, while my stuff hasn't really been that different than it's been the past few years. It's to a degree, yeah. I mean, I'm sure my stuff's different in some ways better. But I think for me, from my perspective on the mound, it's been tough to really quantify and gauge where guys are based off of that, because that's just, I think I've just been throwing the ball. I think I've been throwing the ball differently. I mean, I think I looked it up at one point. It was like guys were hitting 400 on my curveball and slugging it for over 1,000. And that's just not somewhere. That's just not a place where I can really judge, from my perspective, hitters on.
But
right?
it felt different. It felt the same.
Some ways, no. I think just starting to step back and step away from, and look at things more objectively. I was watching more video and less data, less plots on a graph, kind of seeing where my body was in space, less stepping back and trying to look at things kind of just through the lens of just my eyes, and just seeing the way my body was moving and my tempo, and not so much just black and white. Yeah, sure. It's if I'm looking at a graph, my four-seamer, honestly, if I had the same four-seamer last year as I do now, I probably would have had, I wouldn't say substantially better year, but I probably would have had a better year last year. I think my four-seamer is more consistent in its shape. It's got more vertical. It's playing more up in the zone. Probably getting more swing and miss. But that curveball, it's that's been my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty much the foundation of my pitching, right? Yeah, I mean, when I was at my best, I was 95, 98. with a really good breaking ball. Mix in that little cutter, changeup, the two-seamer would play. But for the most part, it's the breaking ball. It's like, here it is. You know it's coming half the time. And it, especially, man, like the past few outings that I've had, I've seen a big difference in a good way. But it's like I'm locating it down and away. I'm locating it down and below. I'm locating it down and in. And they're still just seeing it. It's just, and I think my hand and my body was just in a bad spot. I think my tempo was just sped up. I think the way I was throwing the ball was just uncharacteristically quick. And I think that it was putting the release and just the general energy in the wrong spot. So for me, like, to judge hitters and where they are as a trend was really hard, because it's like, well, I don't know. I do feel that hitters are window shopping a little bit more. They're looking for specific pitches in specific areas, and I think that's why we might be seeing more damage. But maybe I don't know how to describe it. It seems like hitters are on one hand, it's like I want to say that they're trying to make more contact, because I think they are. I think that it's starting to trend a little bit more towards the two seam in the bottom half of the zone might be coming back. Maybe you might be seeing a little bit more weak contact, maybe more protection and fouling pitches off at the top of the zone. But on the other hand, I'm seeing a lot of damage. In weird spots. Just kind of like guys are finding the ability to demonstrate gap or home run power in certain situations that I wouldn't necessarily think that player, that guy was doing that. I think the type of players that are doing that has been pretty interesting too. I think, like some of the guys that are a little bit shorter to the ball, you're seeing those guys more frequently. Like even guys that aren't that like big, you wouldn't think that they're big power hitters, but their bat to ball is really good, and there's a little more contact, tougher at bats that sometimes lead to those home runs. I think that's, and I'm thinking of a couple of specific players. It seems like organizations don't necessarily feel the need to go after the big, strong guy that's going to hit 40, 50 homers, but strike out a third of the time. But I don't think that's unique to this year. I think that's been something that I saw in a couple lineups 3 or 4 years now, where it's like organizations are okay drafting and promoting guys that are more gap, contact line drive guys.
What do you think, looking at the lineups, looking at the guys, from your perspective, like you talk about those players, what is the skill set that you think they're leaning on? Like, of all the things that you mentioned, is it because we can focus on bat speed, right? The bat speed conversation for me is interesting because two of the best hitters in baseball right now have the slowest bat speed, Luis Ariz and Jacob Wilson.
Well, yeah, Luis great. He's great. Like he's fun to watch, and like as a guy that's competing against him, like it's tough because you have to think out there. You have to be willing to switch sides of the plate. You have to be willing to go up and down, and you have to be willing to switch speeds. And a guy like that, I mean, anywhere in the order, like those are the guys I didn't like facing.
Yeah.
Like those lineups with the Phillies from like 08, 09 through 11, 12, you had Shane Victorino leading off. You had Jimmy Rollins. You had Chase Utley, and then Ryan Howard would be in there. But like even Jason Worth was good bat to ball. But those top 3 guys in that lineup, it's like in that park too.
They make you work, right?
They make you work. They foul off pitches. That's why you kind of see like a Quan or a Steven or a Carroll, a Corbin, and like you see those kinds of guys out in a lineup, and those types of players are. I think that's probably where the game is trending. I think as stuff gets better, as pitchers start, their stuff is continually getting better. If teams do want power and they do want that in their lineup, it's going to have to also come with contact. It's just going to have to come with good bat to ball, gap and home run power, and that's why you see these guys that got speed. They're not the biggest guys in stature, but they're really, really good baseball players. And I think as you continue to see guys throwing mid, now upper 90s, now over 100 miles an hour, I think as you see that, there's just not going to be a ton of room for the big, long swing that can also navigate some of the breaking stuff that is coming out of these guys' hands, mixed with 95 plus. So that's my guess. That's just my guess of where it's going.
I agree. I mean, like I've much mentioned Jacob Wilson on this podcast for 10 straight days because, we had Scott Hatterberg on, who's a consultant, for the A's, talking about the drafting of it. Like, you have a 6th pick in the draft. It's easy to say, here's a guy's bat speed, and then, like, we're going to lean on that. Well, this guy didn't have bat speed. This guy just made contact, and now he's a value. To your point, he makes lineups work. There's guys who make lineups work, and I think there is a tremendous value to this. Real quick, is that I looked it up the other day, Charlie, is that the Toronto Blue Jays swing and miss, I think, fewer than any team. They also have the best results in close and late situations. And for me, it's like when the rubber meets the road, you want to put the ball in play, right? I think that's an important thing, and I think you're onto something. This is where it's gonna. I hope it kind of goes, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you take a guy like Aaron Judge, right? He's got pretty much all of it, right? For as big as he is, how much power he is. I mean, this is a guy that covers the zone, right? And he puts the ball in play, like for what he's doing, right? Like for what he's doing, and I don't know. I'm not saying that there's no room in the game for like big, strong dudes.
No.
But you give me a bat in batting practice. Like I was still hitting home runs in batting practice, and I don't have bat speed. I'm not like a huge, strong guy.
Yeah.
I think though that as guys are tailoring their swings and they're kind of figuring out what exactly they can do with their swings, I think we might see that it's okay that a guy doesn't hit 500-foot homers, and it's okay that he's not getting like 117 exit velos. And I would much rather face guys like that. I would much rather face guys that are trying to hit the ball out of the stadium versus at the wall or over the wall. Like I would much rather face guys like that. Like I mentioned, like that Phillies lineup. That's one of the lineups that I remember. It was just like it was painful. Like it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Like and that bat versus some of these guys can be taxing. You face a guy a few times in an outing, and it's like, man. Plus, he's a threat on base. Plus, he's a threat to drive into a gap or a homer, and I don't know. I mean, like you think about like the best hitters that you talk about, and you look back over the course of history in the game. I mean, sure, yeah. Like, is it cool that Babe Ruth hit a ton of homers, and I think that's part of the lore. But I also do think it's like I mean, we're in Fenway Park. I mean, for me, like, statistically speaking, and just in part of the lore of baseball, the romanticism of baseball, you talk about a guy like Ted Williams, right? Like, you talk about a guy like Tony Gwynn, and then for me, I think that, I don't know, there's just something about being a ball player, right? Like, getting gritty in an at bat, you know, and wearing down a pitcher, and just kind of like getting your hands dirty and just kind of punching a ball in the hole or hitting it, you know.
And as a pitcher, you know what that feels like on the other end too. I mean, it's just
because you're truly not beating the guy. Very rarely are you actually beating that guy. Like, when you punch somebody out and you keep striking that guy out, whether it's the heater at the top or the breaking ball off the plate, he keeps chasing it, can't lay off of it. You feel like you're beating that guy. And some of these guys, you don't feel like that, at least not often.
You go back to something you said about window shopping, like near curveball, right? And I immediately thought of that, which is, if your curveball feels good, this is your bread and butter, but it's getting hit, or are finding it in different spots in the zone than ever before, and the window shopping term, I think, is right on. And that comes with, I would imagine, technology, analytics, selling out, you know. But to come back to the original sort of question, maybe that's it, right? Maybe they're just saying, I'm going to live and die with hitting this pitch because I know this is his best pitch. Yeah.
Well, when it's not right, I think my curveball is hittable. It's very hittable. When it is right and it's just doing whatever it does, it comes out right out of the right slot and it just moves. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you're looking for it. There's just. I think when I'm throwing it right, it's a really good pitch. And I don't. And when somebody runs into it, they run into it. Like, and I lay my head down at night and I just say, man, you know what? I threw that right. It was the right situation. I was throwing it right all night. And I'll never second guess myself. I'll second guess myself when it's not right, and I'm now having to rely on my cutter or my two-seamer, or I'm trying to have to kind of navigate through a lineup, and I'm trying to get cute because that breaking ball just isn't. It's just not there, right? I don't know if that's what I mean by that. I think I mean that just like looking at. Like, I saw a clip of Kerry Wood's 20 punchy game a couple months ago, and I remember watching the swings that he was getting. And at the time, he had great stuff. It's not that he didn't have great stuff, but I look at some of the swings that he was getting on that stuff then, and there are plenty of guys that have similar stuff now.
Yeah.
And the swings now are way more dialed in. Guys are way more balanced. I think they know themselves a lot more. They know the strike zone a lot more. It just seems like the average player now is more attuned to what makes them successful. And so if they're willing to sit out an at-bat or miss a couple pitches because they're looking for that one pitch that they know where they're swing, like if a guy really understands his swing, there's just a danger zone at all times, you know, and they're not coming out of it. They're not losing their posture. They're not losing their timing. And I'm not sure, but I wonder if that's why there are times when you execute a pitch and it's like there was no winning that situation.
Did you seek out that, Kerry? I mean, was that like did you come like?
No, I just saw it pop up because
okay.
I have, you know, if I'm like on a YouTube thing or something, like my filters or whatever, the algorithms spitting out all this baseball stuff, you know, and I just think that guys are like hitters are just.
I think it's great. It's a great.
It is
perspective.
But at
I mean, a great perspective. I just not great for pitchers.
Like out of necessity. Like when I first came up, I want to say the average heater, and I think we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
The average heater was like 88, 89, and now it's 94 plus.
Yeah.
Like. That's nuts. I mean, I remember facing Tim Lincecum in 08. I got at-bats off of him in 08. and he was probably, like in my memory, I'm like, Tim Lincecum was probably sitting 99 to 101. And I looked up to his Fangraphs page, and he was like, I think he was averaging like 94.
Was he really?
Yeah. In 08, and like this guy's like, they call him the freak, right? And I'm not saying his stuff wasn't stupid. It was ridiculous. Like, and the way he threw was super deceptive. But you look at some of the stuff that's coming out of these guys' hands now. As a hitter, I can't imagine having to prepare for at-bats now with some of the stuff that's coming out of these guys' hands. If I had this, like, you take me right now with a 10 ERA and you put me in 08, I'm sitting here talking to you like I'm in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Right? I'm in a really good spot. But that was a long time ago. You know, 17, 18
I literally
years ago now.
just talked with Rob Bradford about this. And the example that I always give, which is this innocuous guy, but I remember this guy Alan Webster being dropped in the spring training. He was in the big Dodgers trade, and he threw 99 in spring training. And for 4 weeks, everyone was screaming and yelling, "Oh my goodness, it's crazy!" I mean, I tell you with Daniel Bard. When Daniel Bard was doing it, it was like every day, like, oh my goodness, he hit 9s. Yesterday, guy goes out there, Hunter Dobbins, first pitch 98, no one blinks an eye.
I know.
You know?
I noticed that. I've noticed that in the past few years. It's like you look up and the guy's like, same thing. Dobbins yesterday, and someone said that. And I mean, as a starter, hitting 98, that's pretty good. But it's like you said, it's like.
But nobody said anything.
It's like, well, it's like, oh dang, he throws this hard, okay, and then you kind of, it's like, all right, and then I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's good or bad. Like I saw Chappie he almost hit like 104. It was like 103 plus or something like that a few weeks ago, and they'll show it. And it gets sensationalized, and then everybody just kind of moves on from it. And I'm not sure that, I think it maybe that it just exposes that what the human body is capable of. But I think truly what people connect with at a deeper level is the makeup, the character, what really still. We look back over the course of the game, and there are still those things that make baseball romantic. And it's not just how far did that homer go. It's not like, well, like Teddy's red seat out there, right? But like, it's not just how hard does a guy hit what's his bat speed or how hard does he throw. Yeah, sure. I think we're talking about those things. We're focusing on those things, but at the same time, there's still the game within the game, and there's still human stories behind every single person that's playing right now. So I think we're still trying to calibrate kind of like what are we actually here for? Like what are we when we gather in places like this to watch a baseball game? And I think we're still trying to figure out if it's the same or if it's different. If we're here for the same reason. I mean, like when they play Sweet Caroline here in the 8th inning, you know, in the bottom, leading in the bottom of the 8th, or, you know, when an opposing player, you know, like last night, jumps over the fence and, you know, possibly breaks his neck, right? And like you see the crowd out in center field applauding him. Right, for the effort. This is still a ballpark, right? Like the fans here are still attuned to the game and for what it is, I think. So I think it's important to not lose sight of that, right? Like there still is very much so a story for every person that's here in the park. So
that's great. It's a great way to put it. And the last, and I appreciate your time. The last thing is, I've been asking guys a lot about this because I see guys coming up younger and younger. I asked Jackson Holiday this. Guys are coming up younger and younger. And the first time that they fail a lot of times is with the third deck, right? Failure is a tough thing, and failure is a thing that you have to learn to get past it, but I think having advice from people who have gone through it is a powerful thing. So for you, what would you say? Like, what would you say? Said, listen. It's failure. Maybe is inevitable for everybody, but this is the perspective that you should have when you deal with that failure. Yeah. And I'm talking about usually like the people who have gone through it the first time.
Yeah. Well, one, it's hard to identify where, if you really don't know somebody, it's hard to identify where they are in that in the part of the process, and whether or not they're failing, right? If because it's a kind of it's a very strong word to use. And I think it's accurate and misleading at the same time. It's like, because honestly I don't know what true failure is.
Yeah, failure is a strong word. Maybe I shouldn't use that.
I think it's an applicable word. For me, it's when you give up. It's when you truly just give up and there's no fight left. That's because either you've succumbed to whatever the circumstances are, or and I say this in baseball, I'm not saying this in life, because I think life is more nuanced than baseball, obviously. But like when you still have an opportunity, and you kind of just give in to things not going your way, I think that's failing. But if there's fight in you and someone's still giving you an opportunity, and it's okay, like say you're like in the minor leagues for 10 years and you're just not getting a shot, and you keep fighting and trying, and it's not working out. I don't consider that failure. I consider that a pretty extraordinary effort, right? And a success in a lot of ways. But I think, I guess, just kind of like general conversation that we're talking about failure, I think it's something to be embraced, quite frankly, and it's something to be accepted so that you can grow from it and learn from it. Because you have to break free of it. The first step is forward, and the next step is the next step forward. It's not some grand, all of a sudden everything's going my way. It's a grind. You have to accept that what you are isn't good enough at that moment, but it can be better, right? That's, to me, that's how you overcome a lot of difficulty in life. Like it's just one step at a time, and you keep going. You get gritty and you keep going. That's really hard when you're younger because there's so much on the line. For me right now, it's just being able to look at myself in the mirror, because I already did it. I already did fail, and I already did overcome it. And I've had to do that multiple times, multiple ways. And this year for me, it's no different. It's like you gotta look yourself in the mirror and you gotta figure it out. If someone's giving you an opportunity to figure it out, right? But when you're younger, you have the pressures of yourself, your family, your friends, the fact that you are X number of years into a career that has yet to yield either an outcome, or say you're doing it for, we're all doing it because we love the game. We also need a job. It doesn't matter that it's baseball. We need a job. So it's like if you invest 15 years of your life into a job, I'm just arbitrary number. And you're no better or worse off than your peers that have invested the same amount of time, but they're now in some management position, or they're doing something where who knows, maybe they started their own business, right? While you're out here riding around buses from Salem to Roanoke. You know, and like, And it's like you look back and it's like, man, those were some good times, but like on a professional level, I'm kind of behind. Like and I think there is risk. There is a lot of risk that most of these guys are taking that is not going to result in an outcome of a 10-year big league career. It's just not going to happen. So you have all that. You have that on the line, plus the fact that you're doing it in front of all these people that know so much about who you are and the scrutiny, and you're doing it for your peers, in front of your peers, on your bench, across the field. You're doing it in front of all these people that you respect. Your general manager, your owner, your team president, your head coach, your pitching coach, your hitting coach, all these people that have grown up supporting you, watching you, invested in you. And there's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure because especially if you become rational about it and you're like, oh my goodness, like all these people care about what I'm doing. And quite frankly, that's what society seems to be nowadays, caring about what everybody else is doing. So I don't know if it's better or worse now than it was. It seems like it's probably worse. So I think that younger players now have more to lose than they did before. It just seems like younger people nowadays are having a more difficult time. Whether it's professionally, just in our economy, whether it's socially, whether it's mentally, it just seems like younger people are having a harder time. So for me to be like, hey man, like you're failing.
I think honestly it's the best perspective that I've gotten, the question, and my hope is that it helps. I think it helps people with that perspective. So I thank you, man.
I do think that we do need to take a step back. I think younger guys, maybe we do need to take a step back sometimes. And for all I know, it's making the people that put themselves out there better and stronger. It's not necessarily you're not necessarily tied in and doomed because if society as a whole is doing worse or better. You as an individual can actually benefit from your struggles, right, in the game. Like you can become better.
I appreciate it.